Hey everyone, welcome back to another Mattel Jurassic World review. Today we'll be taking a look at the brand new Primal Attack Massive Biters Siats Meekerorum. This was such a highly anticipated figure for me ever since pictures leaked right after Toy Fair early this year. I've been really anticipating this Siats figure. This figure started showing up in Targets in the US, starting in California a couple weeks ago. It's been slowly making its way across the US, and I finally found one today in Rhode Island. I end up using Pop Finder. BrickSeek is absolutely garbage lately. I haven't been using it. I've been using Pop Finder for a couple of months, and it's been working great. So I'm going to leave a link in the description to Pop Finder along with the DCPI code. So what you want to do is just punch in that DCPI code and your zip code and just check the inventory levels of the targets around you. Now, it will not specifically say that they have Siats in stock, so you just have to pay attention to the inventory levels. That just tells you how many massive biters that they currently have in stock. So it was easy for me. One of my targets had no massive biters all week, and then today I checked, said they got 2 in, so I headed on over there, and Siats was sitting on the shelf. So I wish everyone luck tracking this figure down. Definitely use Pop Finder. It'll save you some trips. I love how Mattel has been giving us some very obscure species lately, and Siats is really obscure. A little later on in the review, I'll get into a little bit of history about this dinosaur. This is a pretty cool dinosaur. So let's just quickly go over the packaging. You know, this is the new Primal Attack packaging we've been seeing since the new figures started popping up around the first of the year. Got your Jurassic World logo, Primal Attack logo down there. You got the nice paddock fences with the sunset, and the coolest thing about this, on the bottom right here, Siats Meekerorum, this is one of the very, very few Jurassic World figures that actually has the species name included on it. The only other one is Tyrannosaurus Rex. I thought that was pretty cool that they have the scientific name Meekerorum printed on the packaging. And obviously, just like every other Jurassic World toy, we got Owen in blue on the front, and then spinning around, we get a nice picture of Siats with that massive biters action feature on it. And I believe Tarbosaurus is the other figure included in the case assortment with Siats. When I went there, the only other figure on the shelf was the Tarbosaurus. So if you haven't picked up the Sarcosuchus yet, I definitely would, because if it's not included in this wave, we all know what happens. A couple months down the road, everyone's looking for, figures that only popped up in one wave, and the price just skyrockets. And here is Siats out of the packaging, and I have to say, this is such a cool figure from Mattel. The more I mess around with it, the more I'm liking this figure. So let's just do a quick history lesson of what Siats is. I'm sure many of you have never heard of this dinosaur up until when Mattel revealed this toy. Siats is a late Cretaceous theropod from Utah. It lived about 94 million years ago, but what makes it so unique is it is a type of allosaur. It is actually geologically the youngest allosaur ever discovered in North America, which means these types of animals lived a lot later into the Cretaceous period than paleontologists initially thought. There is only one specimen of Siats, and that specimen is very incomplete, but paleontologists have determined that this was a very large predatory dinosaur. And since we're talking about size, let's just do a couple of quick measurements. This figure is just about 15 inches long if you count that little curve in the tail right there. And this figure stands pretty much exactly 6 inches tall at the top of the head right here. So Siats is estimated to be around 39 feet long, so that'll put this figure somewhere in the 132 scale range. All right, let's zoom in and take a closer look at some of the finer details on this figure. I have to say, with this figure and the new Epic Roaring T-Rex, which just recently came out, which I just reviewed on the channel, Mattel has really stepped up their game on the amount of detail they're giving their figures. This figure is beautifully sculpted, has tons of detail on it. Look at all the different size scales along the lower jaw right here. You have this beautiful scalation from head to toe on this figure, and you really don't see that on some of the older Mattel figures. And this figure just looks absolutely gorgeous in person. Look, you even got some nice large osteoderms sculpted along the thigh right here, and you got some more that start at the base of the tail and go all the way down almost to the tip of the tail. You have some really cool looking spikes along the back right here and the back of the neck. The main body coloration on this figure is like a yellowish orange color. They have this really, really dark blue banding that goes over most of the figure. It almost looks like dark blue ink, and if you can see right here, some of that paint does bleed out. It actually looks like someone colored this figure in with blue ink, so that is just a little bit of a paint mishap. And then the rest of the coloration are these light gray stripes along the thighs and along the base of the tail right here. But all in all, the detail on this figure is second to none with all the new figures. The new figures that have come out from Mattel right now, and I'm really excited for the future. If Mattel keeps putting this much detail in their figures, they're gonna look absolutely fantastic. Even the feet right here, look how nice all that scalation along Those hind limbs look absolutely fantastic. And even inside the mouth right here, you get a really, really nice detailed tongue. Has a nice clear coat to give it that wet look. And I love that bright green eye. So I just want to point out some weird creative design choice Mattel made with this figure, and that namely has to do with the placement of the teeth on this figure. The teeth go way, way too far back. No theropod has teeth that go this far back. All the teeth-bearing bones are the premaxilla, maxilla, and the dentary. So the teeth should stop right here and right here. As you can see, you have more teeth going down past the eye of this creature. So this bone right here is the jugal, and this bone right here is the syringular, and those are not teeth-bearing bones. So very weird design choice by Mattel, but it's Jurassic World. You know, they create these animals from different genetics. They're always modified. So any weird inaccuracies, you can always just attribute that this is how the creatures were designed. But it is definitely a very weird choice. It makes this figure looks a little bit weird, but I have to say, I really don't mind it. It's not bothering me as much as it should. I think it is definitely a very weird design choice, but it definitely gives this figure a lot of interesting charm. Moving on to articulation, this figure does not have a lot of articulation. Just like most of the new Primal Attack figures, most of that articulation is tied directly to the action feature, which we'll get to momentarily. So the arms right here can move forwards and backwards. They are on a hinge, so you can swing the arms out. There is rotation at the ankles, allows you to rotate the feet 360 degrees. And since we have the figure lifted up, here is the scan code. If you want to scan that into the Fax app, it does work. If you update the app, you can scan Siats and some of the newer figures into the app. Finally, and the last of the articulation, both legs do move in unison because that helps with the action feature on this figure. I haven't tried to see if I can get one of the legs to move by itself. It's really tight, and I really don't want to break a brand new figure trying to force it. Moving on to the action feature, most of it is tied to the tail right here. If you just grip the tail and hold it by the feet, by rotating the tail, you can get the head to swing side to side. And there is a button at the base of the tail, and by pressing that button, that will allow you to close the mouth on this figure. And then also you can just use the tail to move the figure up and down, and let's just get our victim right here. John Hammond, he's always our victim. There's so much blood on your hands, John. Why did you create that park? You've hurt so many people. You deserve this. And then you could have your Siats shake John Hammond to death. All right, let's move on to some comparisons. Let's start off with one of the human figures. Here is John after being freshly maned. And here it is with one of the attack packs. Here it is with the Colovosaurus, and here it is with the Savage Strike Charlie. These two figures look really nice next to each other. And here it is with the Soundstrike Cryolophosaurus. And here it is with its wave mate, the Massive Biters Tarbosaurus. This Tarbosaurus figure should be a little bit larger. Tarbosaurus was just a little bit smaller than T-Rex. And here it is with the Camp Cretaceous Toro, the Carnotaurus. Carnotaurus should not be bigger than Siats. And lastly, here it is with the new epic roaring Tyrannosaurus Rex. And these two figures look really, really, really nice together. The amount of detail between these two figures is absolutely fantastic. Mattel, please keep up the good job giving these figures all this nice detail. I love repainting Mattel figures and the Siats. Eventually, I'll pick up another one when I see it. I definitely want to do a repaint of this figure just for the amount of detail on it. So, final thoughts on this figure. I really, really like the Siats figure. I believe this is the first Siats toy in figure form ever produced, and I am loving that Mattel is just adding a lot of obscure dinosaur species to their Jurassic World line, and the Siats is definitely a very welcome addition. I really love this figure. The more I mess around with it, the more I love this thing. Definitely lived up to my expectations. And like I said, there is a very weird design choice with how far back the teeth go on this figure. Plus you have these two longer teeth along the bottom jaw that just kind of stick out to the side, and there's an indentation up here, and just definitely very weird looking with the teeth on here, but I like it. It does not bother me. It does not bother me like the amount of toes on the Soundstrike Edmontosaurus. I definitely like the weird charm that this figure is giving off. And like I said at the beginning of the video, this figure is popping up at Targets across the country. I end up using Pop Finder. The link is in the description along with the DCPI code. Just punch it in, check your Target inventory levels, and hopefully that will give you an easier time trying to track down this figure, which is definitely worth tracking down. I really love this thing. I think this might be one of my favorite releases so far since Primal Attack started from Mattel. I just need to track down the new Attack Pack figures, and I should be pretty much caught up with most of the new figures released by Mattel. I know the Postosuchus and the new Pachycephalosaurus are a whole different thing. Oh god, the distribution sometimes Mattel figures is so bad. But good news, I am getting a Battle Damage Gasosaurus. I'm doing a Marvel Legend trade with another collector in Mexico, and he tracked the figure down for me, and I'm trading him some Marvel Legends for it. So I should be getting that figure in a few weeks, and I'll be doing a review on the Battle Damage Gasosaurus. I love getting new species from Mattel, and I believe that's like, other than like a high-end resin kit, I think that's like the only Gasosaurus toy also in existence. So that will do it for the review. As always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously, and it's greatly appreciated. I'll see you guys for the next one.